Gentle disclaimer to all of our listeners. All medical information mentioned in this podcast is purely informational. It is not individualized medical advice. Please follow up with your physician or medical practitioner for individualized care specific to your needs. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Know and Do Better podcast. My name is Dr. Melanie Carminati, and I am very happy and excited to have our guest, Julius Betila, here with us today. And we are going to be talking about the journey within. So for those who don't know of Julius, his natural curiosity in science and technology led to spirituality and a deeper connection to the universe. He believes that science is the modern language of the mystics, which we can use to lead happier and healthier lives. Sound as an energy modality led Julius to a myriad of spiritual practices like Kundalini Yoga, Reiki, sound healing, breathwork, I Ching, astrology, and numerology that helped align his mind, body, and spirit. With a loving intention and deep gratitude, Julius creates meditative experiences to empower others on their spiritual journey. Thank you, Julius, so much for being here.
Thank you as well for having me, Melanie.
I gave your background, but why don't you tell us about your journey and how you came into the practice of sound healing and meditation and all the other modalities that you utilize?
I've always been like a science geek, so to speak, and being an 80s baby with the advent of technology, science and technology was really the forefront of my curiosity. I would say something around in the 90s when I started reading about nanotechnology and quantum physics. Things did not make a lot of sense. And through that process, I think it opened up Pandora's box. And when I took my first yoga class, an elective in college, that really also introduced a new language and the energy centers of the body. And I couldn't help but just explore to see what are the connections, right? And there was this one quote by Nikola Tesla, who helped really birth the 21st or 20th century technology. He said that if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of or energy, frequency, and vibration. When I first read it, okay, this guy has been experimenting with electricity and other inventions. And I guess when I started getting really into yoga and the word energy is thrown a lot, managing your energy and cultivating your energy, something clicked in me that made me want, be really curious of what Nikola Tesla was talking about. Along with that, with the language of quantum physics, which I still feel like I know a sliver of. Although I don't have like an expertise per se, there was just this affinity with the language that seemed to just merge more than what I can think of, but really sense what's going on inside me. And I feel that just through taking yoga each time during Shavasana or chanting or a particular posture, I started really just noticing what was going on inside me, which I never really paid attention to. I mean, there was contemplative moments and you think about your mistakes, but not in this level. And I guess through that, it grew over the years.
That's beautiful. Why would you say that taking that time to turn inward is so important for our overall wellness? You mentioned that not until that point had you really turned inward in a more introspective way. Why would you say it's important for those listeners who might not have a practice yet?
Yeah, I feel that, we live, especially in New York City, where it seems to never stop. And meditation became like this space where I can just suspend the outside world and not necessarily turn off my thoughts, be able to observe it from a vantage point where I can envision like a roller coaster, and I'm not on the roller coaster, I'm like in the ground
Yeah.
as I watch my thoughts and emotions and sensations go. And I think through that process, it really just helps our nervous system have this kind of a release, like a pressure valve release, and invite language that allows us to digest our experience that we may not have that opportunity. Occupy yourself with the next thing and never get a chance to deal with what's going on inside our real world,
Mhm.
and meditation has helped me kind of just be honest with myself, right?
Yeah.
And growing up, I wasn't really taught the language around emotions,
Mhm.
and when I started figuring out, like, oh man, I think I have anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is anxiety,
Yeah.
or even like a healthy way of expressing anger,
Yeah. Naming
right?
the emotion. Mhm.
Naming the emotion.
Mhm.
That's like huge that I didn't grow up with. I didn't have the capacity. I didn't realize I was like unemotionally available,
Mhm.
in my relationships with my family and my partners,
Mhm.
and that kind of just opened up a Pandora's box, which was challenging to take ownership of. But it was a huge relief because I'm still dealing with these things, but at least I have this vantage point now where I know when it's coming up to, like, hey, let me pause here, let me collect myself before I respond instead of just react from like this primal subconscious and unconscious part of myself.
I love that image that you gave of, when you're in meditation, when you're sitting, that you are observing the roller coaster, you're on the ground watching it, that you're not actually on it. Because that, I know for my patients, as I mentioned to you, I recommend meditation and a meditation practice, super simple for those who are, in rhythm of having a practice, just getting them to sit for 2 minutes and just to start with counting the breath and being aware of the breath. And many times people will say, but I can't stop thinking. The thoughts keep coming. And I'm like, yes, I think that's a common misconception out there, that you have to not think and you're not supposed to
Hmm.
have thoughts during meditation. So that leads me to get curious about how do you work with clients who have obstacles with meditation and sitting, and like what are some of the common obstacles that you see with people and their mindfulness practices?
Yeah, that's a very good question. One thing I really observe is having someone guide you and being open to that is a huge first step. With anything, you can go to the gym once and feel okay, but it's a matter of creating consistency,
Sure.
right? Maybe it's like pause every 2 hours with 5 deep breaths. And I feel like we live in such a fast paced world that
Mm.
there's this kind of an impulse through our neurological programming of instant gratification.
Right.
And meditation is quite the opposite. Uh, right? It's about the process itself takes time, and it is layers of onions, and it's almost like I call it the eternal dance,
Mm.
right? We go to the bathroom every day, hopefully, right? And meditation is like spiritual hygiene that no one really taught us.
Mhm.
So we may do it once and feel fresh and clean, and we see clarity, and then all of a sudden we kind of go back to our daily routines and we kind of go in the dark, so to speak, and automatic. Right? They
Yeah.
say we operate 90% throughout the day unconscious. So I
Mm.
think with the meditation practice, it's about creating time for it, not making time, but really creating time of like, hey, maybe I have to sleep 30 minutes early so I can wake up 30 minutes earlier if I do have a family and have that time for myself. And it's really making radical acts of adjustments
Mhm.
to really get into, to make the uncomfortable comfortable.
So, can you describe what a deep meditation might be like? What are some of the physical, mental, and emotional experiences that someone might go through as they're sitting in a meditation or even a sound bath?
Yeah, I think it depends what type of meditation you're getting into.
Right.
I guess it depends on your intention as well,
Mm.
whether you're stressed or you're tired or whether you're going through something, so that can impact what that quality of that meditation could be. But
Right.
ultimately, it can range a few things, right? It can give you
Mhm.
this space where, going back to your nervous system, to kind of hit a pause button, especially if you're feeling tight and your body's cringing, to just take a break,
Mm.
right? Meditation can create that space where you can release that.
Mm.
And ultimately, I feel like people meditate more than they realize,
Mhm.
right? And it's not about just sitting quietly and closing your eyes. I feel like when people are really in the flow, in the present moment, whether that's working with the patient and you're just super present with
Right.
hyper intentionality,
Right.
or if you like dancing, or if you
Mhm.
like writing or creating music or cooking with your family or petting your dog,
Mhm.
these are expressions of meditation. It's not as far fetched and unreachable what people think it is. And it's about just getting there. I kind of call it reminders,
Mhm.
right? We have to just keep reminding ourselves. And it's easy to get distracted, and the meditation just allows us to bring our attention within ourselves, and we can lose our sense of physical reality in
Mm.
that process
Mhm.
sometimes, right? Depending
Mhm.
on the meditation. And you're kind of
Mhm.
in this limbo state where you're kind of asleep, but not asleep within the brainwave state. That's like the alpha and theta brainwave state, where
Mhm.
we're open to suggestion. And it's actually a hypnosis part of our brain.
Mhm.
And that's when we can really dive in and kind of, with another layer of intention to reprogram our habits, starting within ourselves. Right? We can do visualization or affirmation. At the end of it, it's just being present. And what are you willing to kind of suspend and welcome within yourself, to allow oneself to feel at ease, to have a little bit more clarity, to be able to feel and to be able to hear as well. I feel like when we're too busy up in our head, it's hard to hear and feel and see ourselves clearly, and
Mhm.
also situations. And that's where we kind of get into a lot of miscommunications.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have training in Zen meditation, but I've done a mix of things because of my meditation mentor who I started with years ago. I know in contemplative meditation, the intention is different than with Zen meditation.
Mhm.
And the other name of the meditation that I'm thinking of that involved more reflective and like post meditation communication with the group was an amazing experience. Especially just sitting with other people was a different
Mm.
experience than sitting alone. I wanted to dive deeper into sound healing with you
Mm.
because, for those who don't know, I've had Julius come to my business in Park Slope and give a beautiful sound healing experience to my team. And I know I really resonate with sound healing. I know, like, for me, without meditation, my mind would be extremely anxious. And I feel that sound healing just like gets me there much quicker. And I don't fully understand the science of it. I'm sure you can explain some,
Mhm.
but it really is amazing the depth and the feeling and the grounding that happens for me with sound healing.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful practice. And it goes back to yoga. That's when I was first introduced to sacred
Mm.
sound through
Mhm.
Himalayan singing bowls and gongs
Mhm.
and shamanic drumming. And I started really digging into it. It's really profound, right? Because sound It's an everyday part of our life, whether it's even through sensations of the vibrations, right? Even if you can't hear, right? You're feeling sound. They say our ears powerful vibration in a setting. When we listen to something played with intention to allow us to relax and dive with the sound frequency itself has the ability to shift going back to the brainwave state, right? From beta, where it's mostly physically oriented and we're risk analyzing everything, into the alpha theta, sometimes delta, which is deep sleep. And there's also higher states of meditation with like the gamma and epsilon and lambda state, which monks get to with like super duper hardcore training. But to start with, when we allow ourselves to really listen to the sound, it almost kind of feels like a bath, right? You're immersed in this sonic vibration that's flowing through you. And there's this thing called brain entrainment. It's a natural phenomenon.
Brain entrainment?
Yeah, brain entrainment. Or just entrainment in general, where hundreds of metronomes, and they all started the metronomes all in different times. We gave it like a few minutes and they all started synchronizing one by one.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you think about just the vibration involved in that experiment, when you're immersed in a sound bath and played with intention to relax the mind, something similar happens where our nervous system starts harmonizing with those instruments. And the next thing you know, we're not thinking about the future or thinking about the past, but really having this beautiful opportunity to immerse with our own subconscious or our own consciousness to see what's there, to explore.
That's beautiful. Thank you for explaining that. When we are sitting and we're observing our thoughts, what are we actually observing?
Some say maybe the ego or our consciousness. And I think what's really beautiful is it's an opportunity to learn about ourselves in a way that gives us awareness. And hopefully with that awareness gives us a choice that we can act upon, whatever it is that gives us this sense of agency and empowerment, whatever it is that we're going through, to just create change, starting within us. So, and it's also not even just the thoughts, it's also the sensations of the body. Because I feel that emotions and feelings are the intuitive language. And oftentimes we haven't, like, you're in physical therapy, right? And like, this is the intuitive language of the body telling you, hey, maybe do something differently around your movement, around your nutrition, around your stress management, XYZ. And meditation kind of gets us there if we give ourselves that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see a lot of stress manifesting in physical sensations for my patients all the time.
Yeah.
And so that is why the mind-body connection is so heavily taught in my office and my practice with myself and the other practitioners. So you mentioned how to stay grounded in that deep seat of awareness throughout our day. You said taking 3 deep breaths. What else? What other tips do you have for being able to stay in that deeper seat?
Yeah, I have this thing called the sacred pause, just to invite a little bit fun with the practice, where I just try to take as much pause as I can. Like even before getting out of bed, I allow my hands to guide me wherever it needs to be placed, and I just tune in with the breath and like tune in with my body. I use gratitude a lot to just really allow myself to not only count my blessings, but realize that like there is this greater order more than the mind can conceptualize. That, there's so much uncertainty right now in the world. And the ego just wants to control as much as we can. And through that process, it can be really stressful trying to control something that we can't.
Mhm.
And so going back to the meditation of the sacred pause is giving myself that opportunity to loosen my grip, to be open to possibilities, and to also trust and surrender to that grander order that, hey, I'm doing my best. And can I create this spaces, the sacred pauses throughout the day as much as I can
Mhm.
before going into a meeting, before even
Mhm.
driving, maybe before I hopped on this podcast, I had a pause to myself, tuned in with
Mm.
my breath, and just checked in where I was, and breathe a little bit deeper in areas where I might have felt tension, to just center myself before going into the next task, and not carrying whatever it is that I may have carried without bringing attention to it. You can start with the breath. Movement is so key, especially if you work in the office. I recommend not sitting for more than an hour. I mean, at least walk around for 5-10 minutes. Even eating, if you can meditate with your food as you eat,
Mm. Mhm.
mindful eating,
Mhm.
mindful cooking. And for those that may think this is a lot, can you get creative and meditate on the things that you're already doing that you may not see as an opportunity to meditate on? I'm showering, I'm cleansing my body, I'm getting rid of negative energy, I'm
Mm.
brushing my teeth, or
Yeah.
I'm preparing my nutritious meal to nourish my mind, body, and spirit, or whatnot, right? If you have kids, right, that's like such a beautiful way to interact with them without thinking of what did I need to do, or I got to prepare that tomorrow, or whatnot, but just be really present with whatever task is at hand.
Mhm.
Even for 5 minutes goes a
Yeah,
long way.
absolutely. I love those tips. What would you say some of the long-term benefits of these kind of practices are? Meditation, sound healing, and just mindfulness in general?
Oh man, the biggest thing for me, honestly, is allowing myself to be more vulnerable.
Mm.
And I think in that process, we begin to communicate more from the heart instead of our head. And through this process, creates an empathic relationship with whatever it is or whoever it is that you're dealing with. Really, I feel creates more stronger connection and maybe feeling less angry about things. And like you said, anxiety. That's so big.
Mhm.
There's so many levels of anxiety that I'm beginning to realize that creeps up that's hard to put into words.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I think meditation just gives us a space to really digest things in ways that we may not be able to, especially without external help. That's one of the greatest tools that we have on it. Because I feel like if we don't, like we can go a really dark path. If you know meditation is challenging, and I would
Mhm.
advise if it's accessible, find someone to meditate with.
Mhm.
I know there's a lot of great apps, and if that's like your access point, go for the app. But if you can meditate with someone, even on Zoom, hey, let's do 5 minutes together. Let's sit across from each other
Yeah.
and let's breathe or listen to a guided meditation. And don't be too hard on yourself. An hour or 5 minutes or whatnot, or this is hard. Just keep at it. It's almost like that amber of light that you're kind of just feeding little by little. It starts growing, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And next thing you know, you're like, shoulders feeling a little bit more at ease. You're smiling a little bit more, and the
Mhm.
frown is not there as much. And people may be smiling back at you out of nowhere, you know? And it really shifts us on a vibrational level that allows us to magnetize like experiences that really is there to help and guide us.
Amazing. Thank you, Julius, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
to all the
this is
listeners. Join me next time on the Know and Do Better podcast. Bye bye.